Welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. Today, we're going to talk about an update that Games Workshop has released. Apparently, only through their stories on Instagram and maybe a comment against an article on their Facebook page. Maybe there's more places, but it certainly wasn't a segment of their new Imperialis article today, which feels odd. It almost feels like they're trying to hide it. Maybe. The news, you ask? Probably continued delays. But we'll get into that more soon. What I also want to talk about today, if the delays do continue, what can you be doing as a keen, future, impatient, and disappointed Legions Imperialis player? Just a quick note before we get into it, a subscribe and a like really helps us reach a bigger audience. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit those buttons down below. So the article that we received today was a summary of everything that we've got so far, one location where we can click on all the links to articles about Imperialis rules, Imperialis concepts, and Imperialis miniatures. What wasn't there is any news on the delay, but in addition to it, Games Workshop put some sneaky stuff out there in social media, essentially, and we'll put it up now. It's essentially saying the delays continue, and they don't know when it will end. It says, but when does it come out? So this is the question we're all asking. Their response, we hear you guys. It's been a long wait, and we're as keen as you to see legions obliterating each other in epic scale combat. We can't confirm the date for you today, other than to say it is almost here. And the first place that the exact launch date will be confirmed will be in a future Sunday preview article on Warhammer Community. So that's it. Bit vague. Certainly future Sunday doesn't imply this Sunday. Maybe it doesn't imply the next Sunday. What does this mean? Well, we definitely won't be seeing Imperialis until December. That's for sure. So November is pretty much out, unless, no, it has to be, right? If we don't see it this Sunday, and I don't think we will, otherwise they would have said it. We're looking at a 2-week probably pre-order. I would be shocked if it was any less. So we're now looking at December. But it could also be 2025. I know, that hurts. It's a bit shocking. We all expected this in November. I think Games Workshop was really pushing for November. But I don't think they actually know when this is going to be released. And we'll get into that a little more. All I'm saying is, if we don't get this until 2025, geez, that rulebook better just be so tight when it comes out, but we'll have to wait and see. So how are people feeling about this? Well, now, there's been a big response on Facebook, because of course there has. People are disgruntled. People are saying that their hype is absolutely dead for this game. They don't want to play it anymore. They're so disappointed. Why is there so much angst? Well, unless I'm mistaken, this is Games Workshop's first delay of this magnitude. Every now and again, they have a regional delay, often in Japan, sometimes Australia, sometimes the US, where certain products get slightly delayed, depending on what they are. But in regards to a big worldwide release like this, I think this is the first time Games Workshop have really delayed something. And I could be wrong, please let me know in the comments if I am. And the big issue is that we got a release date, right? They said it was coming in August, they committed to it, and then we all got super excited about it. And then that release date was taken away with no sign of a new one. I get that it's frustrating, right? People are allowed to be disappointed about this. However, I just don't really understand the intensity of anger and negativity that's being thrown out there on social media. I'm not shocked by it, but I don't understand it. It just seems a bit much. I'm as happy as the next jaded gamer to call out Games Workshop for their shenanigans, whether it be exorbitant prices, disparities between regions, whether it be shoddy rules, bad game design, what else? Poorly designed miniatures. There's a million reasons to be upset at Games Workshop. But in this case, I believe the delays are largely outside of their control. Reliable sources are now saying that the issue was some offensive wording. I'm not keen to get into the politics of it, but I did some Googling, and look, yeah, I get it. It was a phrase that was, I think it was one of the scenarios perhaps, was named something in the rulebook. It got picked up once it started going out to people, and at the last minute they made the decision, and I don't blame them for that decision. I think it was probably the right one to pull the rulebook. Because of it, go for a reprint, which would then result in a complete repack of the product as well. Now, could they have done some research beforehand to avoid that situation? Maybe. But when you're writing thousands of grimdark words, something dodgy, it's gonna sneak through every now and again. Something slightly offensive to someone, and there's so many offensive things to so many people. When you're playing with this kind of game, every now and again something's gonna get through. I think that they picked it up before the wild scale release is great. That they decided to do something about it is fair, but it has resulted in this delay. Now, this, of course, is all rumor. We don't have real confirmation of this, but a lot of people are saying it. Some pretty reliable sources by the sounds of it. So we're just going to go with this narrative just because we can. So assume that they went to reprint because of this, but the unknowns and difficulties of an unplanned print run and the entire product repack that they'd have to do has left them in a pretty awkward place where I don't think they actually themselves know the release dates, which is why we're getting updates like we got today. They will let us know when they know more. It's coming soon. They're no doubt going as hard as they can to get it to us, but they don't have the answers. I think it's going to be 2025, and I don't think they want to say it, but I think they're thinking that too. It's look, it's not great. It's not great, but it is what it is. So what should we do, right? So we've got this delay. We're all expecting it. We're not getting it. It's largely outside of Games Workshop's control. I don't really blame them for it. They made some decisions, which I think were the right ones. Things snuck through, but that's going to happen. So what should we do, right? Well, currently the go-to seems to be trashing Games Workshop on the socials. The Wargamer special. But I also think that's probably not the majority of people who may be disappointed, like myself, but are stoically waiting for the release with just the slightest hint of patience. Well done, you. So to you, the disappointed but patient gamer, what can you be doing to keep that epic scale light burning amongst the dark clouds of unknown delay? Now, this won't be everyone. I'm sure there's plenty of people who are watching right now who are like, nope, this game is absolutely dead to me. How could they delay it? Absolutely unacceptable. Look, fair. That's an opinion. You are entitled to have those. But for those that are like, you know what, disappointing, but what can I do to just get that little bit of Imperialis flavor in my life until this thing finally drops? So I've got some ideas. The first of my thoughts around this is plan a legion. And start playing around with army lists. So to decide which legion, if you haven't already, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that have a few they're still looking at and don't know which way they're going to go, I do have a choose a legion video that you can check out. It's extremely popular, and I think it's helped a lot of people with their legion choices. So go check that out. But otherwise, make your pros and cons list. Really decide on a legion. I'm going to go White Scars. I've made my decision, but if you haven't already, this extra time gives you a little bit of thinking time to get that. The next piece is playing around with army lists. So because of the White Dwarf, we have a pretty good understanding of the units that we'll have available and what their points look like. And of course, what points we're aiming towards, which is that 3,000 mark. I don't know if I'll be aiming for a 3,000 point army to begin with, but I'll build up there, I'm sure, one day. So plan out your army list. I've been doing it. At the moment, it looks like a whole bunch of flyers, so that's exciting for me. And I'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. But yeah, look at the points in White Dwarf, get to it, and look, there's leaks out there with even more specific points, so you could look at those if you wanted to, and start putting army lists together so you know what you'll be purchasing or looking to get your hands on once this game finally drops. Now the next one, try out some different paint schemes. So what I've been doing with my White Scars, I've tried a couple of paint schemes so far. I think I've got another one in me. Different ways of painting white. I'm using old 3D printed models. These were some models I got a long time ago to put on some Titanicus bases. So I think they're only 6mm. I don't believe they're 8mm. So what am I going to do with them? Well, practice paint schemes is the answer. So different base coats. I've gone with traditional methods versus contrast for doing my spot colors, the red. And also I'm trying to work out how I actually paint these things with being so tiny with my uncoordinated hands. So actually holding the miniatures and practice painting that scale, if you haven't before, it's worthwhile. Give it a shot, have some fun with it. I'm thoroughly enjoying painting some tiny tanks up, and I'm sure you will too. This will mean too that you're ready to go from the hobby side. When this thing drops, you'll have all your paints ready, all your tools, your brushes, etc. that you need for that small scale, ready to go, so you can get straight into it when we start getting some miniatures. Next, there's plenty of miniatures already out there for this game, whether it be Knights, whether it be Titans, whether it be Aeronautica aircraft. There are plenty of ways you can start painting and building your army that we've planned, as we talked about already, right now. I've been doing this, so I've been tracking down aeronautical miniatures, which are not easy to get your hands on in this day and age. Yes, they don't have the bases. That will come with the Imperialis release, but also I'm getting them at the previous retail price, which I'm pretty sure is going to be cheaper than when Legion drops. So take advantage, and same with the Titan repacks, right? So take advantage of this this hiatus and make sure you're getting the best prices you can for those miniatures that have disappeared for a repack by tracking them down on the secondhand store or those third-party stores that still have them lying around, which is how I found mine, a little brick and mortar store in Sydney that had an eBay listing that I managed to get my hands on, and that's how I got them at old school retail price, which I was pretty happy with. Next up, get 3D printing. I think, I assure you, all these people complaining and being disgruntled at Games Workshop about the delay, a lot of them were probably going to do some 3D printing anyway. They're probably that type of person. So a lot of people, I think, and look, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a valid way of getting some of the miniatures, maybe not all. Maybe, throw Games Workshop a bone here and there. They are the ones that make this game after all. But I think a lot of people are going to be printing at least portions of their Legion's Imperialis army. I think which portions they print will be determined by the prices we get when this game drops. But if drop pods are expensive, as I think they might be, and you'll need as many as I think you will, that is just a wonderful target for some 3D printing. There's nothing holding you back to getting your hands on epic scale miniatures at the moment. There's so many amazing files out there. 3D printing is so easy. If you've never 3D printed before and you don't have a 3D printer, well, and you're thinking maybe you want to 3D print some Imperialis scale miniatures, grab a printer, play around with it, practice. It takes a good few weeks just to get your head around how to use and get the best out of your 3D printers. So do that now while you're waiting. My only advice would be to be careful with the scale if you're going to mix and match certain units. If you're going to be using tanks out of the core box, probably don't print a bunch of rhinos. They may end up being a few millimeters different, and while that may not bother some people, it would drive me absolutely nuts. Troops with different armor marks, I think you can probably get away with. So I really want a bunch of Mark II Space Marines in my White Scars army, so I can do a bit of Chondax action. I think it just fits really nicely. It wouldn't make sense that they have Mark VI at that point. So I'll be, I think, getting into some Mark II printing. I just love that armor type too. It's so heresy for me. I'm super into it. So I think I'll be printing off some Mark II and starting to paint up some troops, because I'm not going to be getting Mark II Epic anytime soon through Games Workshop, so I don't feel so bad about printing that one. I'll still buy the core set, I'll still buy their rules, I'll still buy a bunch of their other units, but with Mark II, I can't get it through Games Workshop. I'm going to print it, and I can do that right now. Instead of throwing vitriol at Games Workshop on Facebook, I can get printing. Drop pods, another great unit. As I'm saying, I think they're going to be a little pricey. So printing those off, you don't have to worry about scale compared to pretty much the rest of your army. So print off those drop pods. They're quite unique, and get painting those up now. Get ahead of the curve, people. We've got plenty of curbs, so let's get ahead of it. Now, if you've got an army ready to go, if you're one of those people that's been playing Epic for years, you've got an army, you're just waiting for those rules so you can get into it. Why, I guess, is my question. If you really want some epic scale action right now, just as you probably have been in the past, just play some old style rules. There's plenty of rules for epic scale already, both official and community rules and third-party rules as well that you can get your hands on. Same for other people out there. If you're 3D printing some miniatures or you've got your hands on some others, just try some other rules in the meantime, just to get that hype going. Now, yes, it may cause some confusion between rule sets, but I mean, come on, we all play multiple different games here. I'm sure you'll manage to shift over when the new rule set drops. And you know what? Maybe this other rule set that you're playing, maybe it's gonna be better than the rules that Games Workshop comes up with as well. If it's some community action that's been worked on for the last 20 years. So just keep that in mind as well, people. That's a thing. We have a bunch of unit stats and rules as well that Games Workshop have been putting out, and plus that have been leaked. So if you want to throw them into and mix and match them with an old system or a third-party system as well, just so you can at least start to get that Imperialis feel, nothing wrong with that either. Play around, get creative. When Legion a Star Wars game that I originally actually started this channel for. When that was going to come out, I managed to piece together all the different pieces of rules and play games with Proxy Miniatures before the game dropped, long before it dropped. And I actually even recorded that, and people love to see it, just getting creative and trying new things, just because I was so hyped for the game. I couldn't help but proxy some things and try out some rules just to see what it felt like. And I didn't regret that for a second. Had a lot of fun with it. So try it out. Next, lastly, just play something else, people. Honestly, most of us have more than one system on the run, with cupboards full of unpainted miniatures. I get that it's satisfying to call out Games Workshop for their mistakes. I get the frustration of wanting this in our hands, but honestly, just play something else while you wait. Me personally, I'm currently playing Shatterpoint, which is a new Star Wars skirmish game out of AMG, having a great time with it. I'm looking at a half-painted Mace Windu right now. There's no excuse for that, and I certainly can't get angsty about a delay if I'm not even finishing painting miniatures that I started painting. I've got tons of unpainted Alpha Legion for my Heresy army that I could be putting together to increase that army out. Alfarius, I haven't even painted him up yet. There's just no excuse there. Enough Heresy tanks still in cling wrap in the garage to start a new Legion. I could be prepping for the Old World by getting some Bretonian units that I know are not going to be readily available to begin with, and getting them together and starting to base things up. I could be rebasing armies for the Old World for the new sizes that I know are coming. I've got an unopened Battletech starter set that Dean tried to get me into with guilt. I could be opening that up and putting that together. I don't think I ever will, just out of spite, but I could. I've got new books that I've recently bought that I could be reading and spending time with. I think I'm not alone in this situation, so my advice is this. Games Workshop know they've stuffed this one, right? They know they've probably lost sales. Because of it, it is what it is, and fair enough if you're deciding not to buy this game anymore because you're frustrated with the delay. That's on you. Go for it. That is your choice. I don't judge that. The reprint and repack has likely cost them a significant sum of money even before you look at the lost sales, and it's likely delayed other production. They've got warehouse space taken up with product they can't move. I assure you they want to sell us this product as soon as possible. So I get the disappointment. Give them a serve on social media if that's what floats your boat. But then take a breath, redirect that hobby passion, put some tabletop positivity into the world, and we'll all get through this together. That brings us to the end of our Heresy Chats for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you're doing to keep yourself busy during the great Legions Imperialis delay of 2023. Importantly, actually, just quickly, I think I said 25 in an earlier part of this conversation. 2024. Wow, I've skipped that year. That year's apparently just gone for me already. 2024 is when we might be seeing this, not 2025. If it's delayed until 2025, look, there's going to be some pretty hard questions. 2024 is when I think we'll be seeing this. Importantly, make sure to keep rolling those dice and getting hyped for Heresy.